Yeah, y'all can come on around. I'm John Burris, the attorney for Mr. McIntyre's family and baby. We have filed a lawsuit against the County of Sacramento as well as Rancho Cordova municipality. Aside from the lawsuit, our real problem here is the unwillingness on the part of any law enforcement agency to provide us with any information about what happened here. We haven't had access to any videos at all. We haven't had access to the pathology, the coroner's report. We haven't had access to videos if they are. And what we are left here, this family has been left with, is with no information. They know that their son and loved one was shot in the back as he was running away. He was unarmed at the time. He was in the midst of emotional impairment, if you will. He was acting not his normal self. The family, the mom and aunt were very concerned that he was laboring under a disability, emotional, mental disability, and on at least 2 occasions they had requested assistance from the Rancho Cordova police agency, and each time he was turned away. Turned away in the sense that they did not even accept or try to treat him. It is our belief if they had done their job and dealt with a mentally impaired person that we would not be here today. This is an example where officers failed in their responsibility to provide for a person who was emotionally and mentally disabled, arguably under the American Disabilities Act, where you are supposed to you should provide for assistance for a person who is mentally and emotionally and medically disabled. That did not happen in this case. And so this is a situation where a mentally impaired person, where you seek help, the family sought help for him, and they wind up killing him under circumstances that with their own lives were not in jeopardy or threatened or in imminent harm. The video that you have seen or may have seen, he was running away at the time he was shot down. We have pictures of, we have not been able to get the autopsy, although we have tried on numerous occasions, and it's clear he was shot in the back at least twice. We took pictures of the body at the time, and so it's clear that he had gunshot wound in the lower portion of his back and on the side. We believe, given the nature of an unarmed, mentally impaired person running away, being shot in the back by one or more officers, are criminal violations. And each of these, whoever shot this man in the back should be criminally prosecuted, because they essentially murdered a man who was impaired, who was not causing harm to him. He was acting bizarre, but that's not a basis upon which to kill him. And in this particular case, the police did exactly that. And so we have filed this lawsuit to seek answers. We want the videos, we want the pathology reports, we want the police reports, and we want these officers to be prosecuted for this conduct. And the district attorney here in Sacramento County has some responsibility to evaluate these facts. And although they have been shy in the past about prosecution, this case amongst most, more than most, cries out for prosecution. This is a man who was impaired at the outset, who was running away, fleeing, and he gets shot in the back. Under Tennessee versus Garner, this is a classic example where an officer should not have used deadly force. There was no urgency here. The officer fell and may have been hit by whatever, but he wasn't being, at the time they shot and used deadly force, this particular person hadn't committed any kind of crime that would justify the use of deadly force. And so we're here, having filed this complaint. The mother, Mr. McIntyre, and the mother of his child are here, and they're here because they want real answers. Why there's been no pathology report released to us, no videos released to us, no police reports released to us, in fact, no conversation whatsoever And of course, and looking at all of that, which we can't understand and being baffled by, is the unwillingness to release the officers' names. These officers engaged as public personnel, committed the use of deadly force, and for whatever reason, the police departments refuse to give us their individual names. We do not understand that. So we have filed a federal civil rights lawsuit that we filed yesterday, that alleging that Mr. McIntyre and his mom and baby's civil rights have been violated under the federal Constitution, as well as state court claims for wrongful death, and an equally important, under the American Disabilities Act, a failure to provide a treatment when you had the opportunity to do so, when you knew that the person was disabled. There you had a reasonable opportunity to make some accommodations. The objective was to de-escalate the situation as opposed to aggravate it. It may be that because they had been called twice earlier in the day, that they were not prepared to engage him in any way, they were not prepared to treat him in a humane way, and the fact is, they should not have escalated the situation where they used deadly force. So we see it as a violation of the ADA as well. Also, we also believe that there was a failure to provide required medical treatment. This was a man who probably should have been 5150 earlier in the day, at least on 2 occasions, but each time he was turned away. And so if they had done their job and did their duty based upon what was being told to them and based upon what they could see in terms of how he was acting, then he obviously would have been taken into custody and taken to a mental facility and would have obviously, hopefully still be alive today. So we filed this lawsuit seeking retribution for this. Hopefully the district attorney's office, although they haven't done it in the past, will file criminal charges against the officers who committed this crime, in my view. And so at this time, I'm going to let the mom talk if she wants. Okay, step forward.
I just want to say, I want justice for my son. He was unarmed, and for them to shoot him, and the videos show he was clearly unarmed. What happened to tasers? What happened to them when they came to the house, not taking him? Because he knew the date and he knew who the president was? Who doesn't? That's not a reason not to take him in when we called twice. And they turned him away. And then just hours later, my son is dead. That was my only child. My only child. What happens to me as I get older? I don't have him anymore. I don't have the help that I once had. He's gone. And now they don't even care. They won't even give any kind of information. Where is justice? Is she still blind? Or is she peeking and looking at one area? I want justice for my son. He did not deserve to die. He was an athlete. He was a good boy. He went to church all the time. He was not a thug or anything. He was an upstanding citizen. And why was he killed? What was the reason? Kids, wasn't he? Yeah, he coached kids. He coached girls and boys. He helped kids all the time. He loved children. He loved children. He loved just life itself. He was funny, great sense of humor, and he was handsome, and he was mine. And they took away mine, and I feel violated.
Tell them about the 2 times you called the police that day.
I called earlier, and the fire department came out because my family was all around, and they said, you know what, we need to call for some help and call, and we did. And the fire department came out, and he was in the car. He would not get out the car. And the fire department said, oh, we can't make him do anything that he doesn't want to do. And then we asked again, probably 40 minutes later, and we asked for the police. The police showed up. The same ones that were out there that night after he was shot and killed were also at the house. They were right there And they took him to the police car, talked to him, and they said, oh, we asked him what today's date is and who's the president. He's fine. We're going to, tell him to leave the area. They sent him knowing that he's in a mental state to drive his car to do some harm to somebody in his car. He was not in the right frame of mind. Why was he
What
even...
made you think that? What made you...
He was acting strange. He was acting very strange. He was not being himself. He was playing with one of the kids in the family, and he became a little rough. And we asked him, stop. And he kept on, and we kept saying, no, you gotta stop. And he would not stop. That's not him. I was his mother. Anytime I asked him anything, he would just do it. It wasn't, oh, no words or anything. He would just stop. And for the police to release him and tell him, oh, we just told him to leave the premises. And I'm thinking, really? And then just hours later, he is shot and killed. And the same police officers that came to the house was also at the scene. Why? Can somebody give me an answer? Why is my son dead, my only child? I don't understand this. He did nothing. He did nothing to deserve to die. They never pulled out a taser. They didn't tell the truth. They did not tell the truth about him at all. They don't even know if there was a dog. I walked all through the scene. There was no dog there. They keep changing their stories. Every time I look on the internet, their story has changed. Now the dog got hit in the head and his muzzle got broken. Really? What police dog do you know has a muzzle on while he's on duty? I've never seen that. They don't even have a muzzle on when they're in the car. But yet, the only lie they could come up with was he threw a rock. Really? Or did that police officer, that first one, get pissed off because he fell and bumped his head?
Mm-hmm. You want to talk? Tell me your name.
Cassius Hudson. I'm the mother of Michael's only child.
Susan.
I've known him since I was 14 years old. I've never had any altercation with him. The only thing I knew him to love was his son and baseball. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't a thug. He wasn't violent. So I don't understand. But I know that my son has no father due to the police.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Burris, just to clear things up, the remedy for this lawsuit is what? Is it monetary? Is it procedure? Is it...
It could be a number of things, okay? Obviously, you have a question of whether or not there was proper training on how to deal with a mentally impaired person. That certainly could be an issue. I'm always looking to see if there's some areas of reform that can take place. A procedural justice type reform issue is important. And what's the proper treatment of mentally impaired? Did that happen? Obviously, was deadly force the appropriate remedy in a situation where no deadly force was being presented? So those are potential training issues that we're concerned about.
But is that something a judge can
that can be part of a lawsuit. Oh yeah, absolutely. In a lawsuit itself, we will do discovery around this and see exactly whether or not they complied with it. The other remedy that I want in this, that's not directly into a lawsuit, is criminal prosecution. But certainly at the end of the day, we will certainly look to see what all options can be, what remedies can come forward from these facts. Okay, whether it's a question of the release of timely release of videos, a timely release of autopsy reports, things that did not happen in this case that should have happened, that a remedy should be put in place for it.
What's the status of your suit regarding the Sacramento Police Department? Very similar circumstances on the Del Paso Heights, Del Paso Boulevard.
Joseph Mann.
Joseph Mann.
We settled that case last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we settled that case.
What was the remedy there? I mean,
Well, we thought that the remedy was the releasing of the video cameras. The videos timely. A lot of discussions around that. That was an important piece for us. Then we had the Kane case, the 90 Kane case, and in that case, the remedy in that case was the gathering of data, additional data for evaluation and analysis, looking at procedural justice, whether or not officers are working consistent with the procedural justice training that they had received. And then thirdly, equally important for us, is the gathering of statistical data around jaywalking incidents in the various neighborhoods to determine whether or not there is any disparity in those stops and use of force as it relates to African Americans. That was part of the result of the case, which was a very, very significant portion and one we wanted to happen. And I might add, Sacramento Police was cooperative in trying to get that done.
So you're looking for similar types
I'm looking for whatever, to improve the situation, to minimize the likelihood of this type of thing can happen, and particularly as it relates to mentally impaired, because we don't want to continue to have cases where a person's family calls for help